Welcome to Vegan Business Talk with Katrina Fox, author of Vegan Ventures, Start and Grow an Ethical Business. Hello and welcome to episode 92 of Vegan Business Talk. I'm Katrina Fox, journalist, author, media and PR coach, copywriter, editor and proofreader, and founder of Vegan Business Media, a content, events and training platform providing success tips for vegan business owners and entrepreneurs. Now, before we get into the main part of the show, I wanted to let you know that I've opened up enrolment again to my online PR course and group coaching program, Vegans in the Limelight. I ran the course for the first time earlier this year with a group of vegan business owners and entrepreneurs from across the globe over a 12-week period. And it now comes with a full 12 months of group coaching, including a monthly live question and answer call. You can also post your questions on the learning platform, and you can post your pitches to get feedback from me before you send them to journalists. So you've basically got me holding your hand, helping you to do your own PR for a full year. It's a great value program. It's way more affordable than similar courses, and it's the only one that's specifically aimed at vegan and plant-based business owners and entrepreneurs. Some of the current students have already got media coverage in mainstream and specialist newspapers, magazines, radio and TV shows. So if you'd like to get your vegan brand or yourself featured in the media, but you don't have the budget to hire a publicist or a PR agency, then I highly recommend you check out this program. You get full and immediate access to the materials as soon as you enroll. You can find out all the details by going to veganbusinessmedia.com and clicking on the link for the course Vegans in the Limelight. In this episode, I interview renowned US TV journalist and best-selling author Jane Velez-Mitchell, founder of JaneUnchained in Los Angeles, a multi-platform social media news outlet that produces original video content on animal rights and the vegan and compassionate lifestyle. Jane worked as a TV journalist for mainstream media for several decades. This included stints as a news anchor and reporter at KCAL TV in Los Angeles and WCBS TV in New York, as well as reporting for the nationally syndicated Warner Brothers and Telepictures show Celebrity Justice, where she did numerous stories on animal issues championed by celebrities. For 6 years, she hosted her own show on CNN Headline News, where she ran a weekly segment on animal issues. She's won numerous awards for her reporting, including a Los Angeles and a New York Emmy, 4 Genesis Awards from the Humane Society of the United States, a Compassionate Leadership Award from Mercy for Animals, and the Nancy Alexander Award from People for the Ethical Treatment of Animals. Jane has also penned 4 books: Secrets Can Be Murder and Addict Nation, an intervention for America with co-author Sandra Moore, plus her 2 New York Times bestsellers, Exposed, The Secret Life of Jodi Arias, and her memoir, I Want, My Journey from Addiction and Overconsumption to a Simpler, Honest Life. Since she launched Jane Unchained in 2015, it's quickly reached a loyal following of just under 1 million people as of now, that's November 2017, across its social media channels, with many videos getting several 100,000 views. Jane lives with her partner, Donna Dennison, also known as That Snarky Vegan Girl, the social media video director and graphic designer for Jane Unchained. In this interview, Jane talks about how to get featured on mainstream TV and who to contact to pitch your idea, what makes a great TV guest, how having a strong personality and story can get you media coverage, the importance of creating your own content and becoming the media, what equipment she uses to make her videos, and as a little clue, she shoots them on her phone, tips for making Facebook Live videos, and much more. Here's the interview with Jane Velez-Mitchell from Jane Unchained. Hello, Jane. Thank you very much for joining me today.
Well, I'm delighted to be here, Katrina.
Oh, I'm always excited to interviewing you because you're my favorite. You've been my favorite journalist for a long time because I just love how you've been so outspoken and managed to weave animal rights issues into mainstream media through your long and wonderful career as a broadcast journalist and what you're doing now with Jane Unchained. So I'm very happy to have you on the show, and I'm sure that listeners are going to get a lot out of this. So fantastic. So I wanted to just touch on, because you've had a long career as a TV and a broadcast journalist, what would you say, Jane, are some of the most common mistakes business owners make when trying to get themselves media coverage, and particularly TV?
Well, it's hard to get media coverage, particularly TV. Generally, the media, whether it's local news or national news, covers a problem. It doesn't cover happy stories. Everybody says they want good news and happy news, but the truth is, if you put good news and happy news on, the ratings tumble. People want tragedy. They want violence. They want crime. That sells. And there's several networks devoted to crime. And if you look at horrific tragedies, we just had one in Las Vegas, the largest mass shooting in modern U.S. history. It's all over the airwaves. So it's hard to compete with that. And psychologists offer many reasons why people say they want good news but really want bad news. And the bottom line is that when you get home from a hard day at work, or you've had the normal challenges that we all face, it's on a very subconscious reptilian brain level. It's reassuring to turn on the TV and see that there's people who have it a lot worse than you do. And, hey, it's not so bad.
Sure.
Be grateful for what you have.
Yeah, sure. So, what about for things like morning shows? That I guess I'm thinking more like, things like Good Morning America, or their kind of local stuff where, they do kind of have like guest experts on, for example, or, they may do some kind of positive story about, I don't know, vegan cupcakes or something like that. So I'm thinking more along those kind of lines rather than, say, hard news coverage on the TV.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Yeah. I mean, to get on those shows, you need a gimmick, you need a hook, you need something, and you might need a good publicist to get on shows like that too. There are people who do make it on mainstream TV. They're on Shark Tank. They come up with an ingenious product. People are writing a lot of books, and I get them sent to me every week, and they want to know how to get on mainstream television. And while some do, you need an angle, you need a hook, you need a unique selling proposition, you need something that's very different that pops out and maybe related to whatever's happening in the news of the day, and try to find a hook that way.
Yeah, that's great advice.
But if you've got a book about, heart disease and how, a vegan diet, the leading killer is heart disease. I think it kills 1 out of every 4 people, hundreds of thousands of people a year. So if there's a way to hook it to, hey, it's Heart Disease Awareness Week.
And one of the things I think that business owners, I think in particular, can get a bit confused about is who to pitch to for TV. So whether that's local, state or national. So should they be going for researchers, producers, executive producers, presenters? Like, who's the best person to pitch to, and does it differ on various shows?
Well, I mean, most big shows have bookers. So for local news, you could hit the assignment desk. You can go online, and almost every newsroom in America has a website where they have the Twitter accounts and sometimes the Facebook accounts and sometimes the emails of reporters. And so if you've got a business that's, let's say, a vegan business where you've got a cruelty-free product, well, maybe you just try to find a pitch. And let's say you're going to be at the Veg Fest that's happening in that town, or maybe it is the Veg Fest. One of the good ways to let people know what's going on is to hit all the reporters, write them individually, and maybe one of them will respond. And then there's the assignment desk. And, there's rarely producers, just producers in local news. Usually they're just reporters. There's executive producers, but it depends on the product. As far as national shows, there are producers and there are bookers, and you have to find the names and the email addresses of those people, and then you've got to pitch them.
Yeah.
The thing with national shows is they can call you, but you can't call them. Wait till a producer calls you, and then you say, "Oh, I'll call you right back." No, there is no calling back. It's a one-way phone system.
Right. Okay. So email's the way to go.
It's hard to get through to these people. It's very hard because there's so many people trying to get through to them that they create a firewall so that you can't get through to them. So email is a good way to get through to them.
Cool. Great. And I'm guessing any tips on sending an email pitch?
If you have a product that you really feel confident in, get a publicist who does have connections.
Yeah, for sure. But for those who can't afford a publicist, because that's quite a reasonably high investment, so they are keen to kind of do it themselves. Then any tips on what makes a good pitch? So you've said to send them an email pitch. So if you were being pitched, for example, what makes a good pitch for you? What are the sort of key elements?
It really would depend on the product. Give me a product, and I will give you an example.
Okay, so someone's made the first of its kind pre-packed vegan meringues made with aquafaba. That's just, and I don't know if there is a product like that, but I've just made that up off the top of my head.
Okay, all right. Well, okay, then I would target it to food blogs and foodie magazines. So it's about what audience you target. So it's not just your pitch, but it's who you're pitching to. There's certainly BuzzFeed Food and HuffPo Food and all sorts of magazines that are connected to food and blogs that are connected to food. So there's, of course, One Green Planet and the Dodo and other outlets that are targeting like organic food and vegan food, veg news. I mean, I would maybe hit those outlets with it. And those are some of the smaller ones you maybe can get through to them and find out who the, executive producer of this, that, and the other is, or who the managing editor is, and do a pitch that says, hey, everybody loves meringue. You don't have to sacrifice. You can be vegan and you can have meringue, because meringue is generally associated with some kind of whipped, egg whites, I think.
Yeah.
So it's an alternative to egg whites. If you were to do a gimmick around it, I suppose, you could have announce a meringue contest. Here's the thing, and this is why I always say that while it's great to try those things, it's also good to try to do things that are a little off that traditional path of trying to get that mainstream media coverage. They say insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result. You can definitely try to get on these mainstream outlets, and some people do. But the number of people with products trying to get on those outlets versus the number of people who actually do get on those outlets, a very small percentage do. Now, a lot of it has to do also with the personality of the person. Like, I'll just think off the top of my head, Miyoko Shinner, she's created this vegan cheese brand that is just on fire. It's growing rapidly. And she's a very interesting person. And she speaks about the connection between veganism and happiness. And she lectures on that. And I've heard her lectures, and they're really brilliant. And she's funny and clever and witty. So a person like that might pitch themselves as a personality and their own personal story of how they started doing one thing, and then they switched because they had this awakening, and then they started this brand and how it grew. So you can also try to pitch yourself as a story. That what is your story could be interesting. I mean, there's a great couple here who were barristers in London, and they are vegan, and they created this fruit dessert that they became obsessed with. And they both left their job as barristers in London and moved to Los Angeles and have set up a frozen fruit company in Santa Monica on Montana, on very fashionable Montana Avenue. Their story is adorable, and they're adorable, and I go there when I'm in the area. So, wow, that's a story. So, you know, what the news media is looking for is stories. They're not looking to do free advertising for companies.
Exactly.
If you can pitch it as a story that is a compelling story with you know, an arc, you have two barristers, they fall in love, they leave London, they come to America, they set up a frozen fruit company store, and, you know, that's a fun little feature story. Maybe a particular outlet might be interested in that story.
Yeah, they sound wonderful. I love the sound of those, especially like giving up as a barrister. Like that's quite, you know, it's risky, you know, to give up, you know, really high paying career as a barrister, because barristers in London, I know from experience, are not cheap. To move to LA and do that, that's very cool. I love that, and I'm glad you've touched on that, because that is important around the whole, like we say, the story. Because I know a lot of business owners go, oh yeah, you know, a lot of vegan business owners go, oh yeah, I want to be on the TV, I want some publicity for my product. I even get pitched like for my podcast saying, oh, I'd love to come on and promote my stuff, and I'm like, yeah, that's not the way you approach the media. So I'm glad that you that was a really brilliant example. I'm really glad that you've shared that, the importance of the story and making it easy for the journalist to say, yes, we want to cover you, rather than, like you say, doing the job of a publicist, which journalists are not there to do. So no, that's fantastic. I'm really glad that you shared that. In terms of when you were a presenter, Jane, I know you talked about, you know, different outlets have different people, so you might have to contact the reporter or the producer. What about the presenter? So when you were presenting, because you had a show on mainstream TV, which for many years, which was awesome. Were you okay with being pitched directly, or did that annoy you and you would kind of say, no, contact the producer or the booker or whatever?
Yeah, well, again, you know, each show has themes, and our theme at the time, the last show I did, was crime. So, and celebrity scandal. So if it didn't involve a crime or a celebrity scandal, it wasn't really in our wheelhouse. However, I had been doing, and I did for 6 years, a weekly animal segment. And that we covered all the organizations: PETA, Mercy for Animals, Humane Society, you know, the Cloud Foundation, all of these different organizations. And I would get pitched. And of course, looking at it from that perspective, I would want something with something fresh, breaking news, a story that is timely. So, for example, if and this is happening right now, there's an assault on the wild horses. There's a whole bunch of politicians who want to just clear the wild horses off the land to appease the cattle and other industries, but primarily the cattle industry. And so that would be a good story. We'd have an organization get up and you know, talk about how they had a secret summit and they kept out the people who were representing the horses, and you know, so it's gotta be timely. It's gotta be something where you're presenting something new, and so that's difficult with a product. I mean, yeah, you could try to get on Shark Tank, you know, if you have a brilliant new product, or if you have a new vegan restaurant, but again, these shows are not there to promote your product. So if you don't have a story built around it, something that's timely, some kind of maybe a giveaway, like you're helping school kids or something like that, you really gotta. It's hard. They're not. You know, advertising is advertising, news is news, and occasionally they intersect, but it's hard to get that intersection.
Yeah, for sure. And again, it's coming back, like you said, coming back to that story and building that story in it for sure. So let's go on to say, for example, someone has managed to get on, maybe they've managed to get on their local show or national or even, a state or a national show. If they have done that, what are the key things that they must not do? And what are the essential things they must do in terms of, presenting themselves on the TV? What makes a great guest?
Well, somebody who speaks, who smiles, if it's a smile story. If it's not, then don't smile. But who is relaxed and doesn't try to sound intelligent, using big words or getting complicated. Just spell it out simply. I mean, the best guest is keep it real simple and tell a story. So, hey, I woke up one morning and I said, I have to have meringue, even though I'm a vegan. And I came up and I went to the kitchen and I used it like a laboratory. And I came up with this meringue and it's spectacular. Who needs eggs? We've got a vegan meringue, period. As opposed to in 1967, you just want to spell it out, and it's very short. And usually these segments are over before you even blink. They're 3 minutes or at the most 4 minutes. Some, usually they're very short. So get to the point right away and let people know where they can get your product.
Great. Yeah, no, that's really good advice. And like I said, if it's like a guest expert, so say if it was a vegan psychologist, for example, or a vegan health expert, like you said earlier, going on to talk about heart disease and what have you. So they may not be spruiking any particular product, but they're there as a guest expert. Is that important? Mm-hmm. So I guess sound bites, like you said, getting to the point straight away.
Well, let me say this. The meat and dairy industry doesn't want to have vegan messaging on television. Okay, let's be real. Look at the advertisers: meat, dairy, pharmaceuticals. So if you want to get on TV, you better figure out a way to make it about something else, and you could maybe get the vegan message once you're on. I mean, I spoke to a woman who said she managed to get, one of the few people managed to get a plant-based show on television. She said she never mentioned it was plant-based. She said it was cholesterol-free, because if you're plant-based, you're automatically cholesterol-free, since plants contain no cholesterol. So, this fantasy of plant-based or vegan, experts coming on and giving advice, it's nice in a perfect world, but I haven't seen it.
Well, I guess Ellen's had a few on. She's had Neil Barnard on and some others. So I'm wondering if the presenter is kind of open to it. Like you managed to get that animal rights segment on your show. So I guess it's kind of, I guess not impossible. I mean, I get what you're saying. It's, you've got to work really hard at it. And I know recently, I think there was an incident where the filmmakers of What the Health did a segment with Good Morning America. I think it was one of the mainstream shows, and they ended up not airing it, even though they recorded it. So I guess I hear what you're saying, but I guess I'm trying to think of ways that we can somehow infiltrate.
Well, first of all, Dr. Neil Barnard is not a product. He is the head of Physicians Committee for Responsible Medicine. So he's in a totally different category.
But I mean, I'm talking about other experts. So Neil Barnard is an expert. So I'm not just talking about product. I'm talking about perhaps vegan, service professionals who happen to be vegan and plant-based, who could go on and as an expert talking about something.
That's what I would say if you're a doctor, which Dr. Neil Barnard is, and that would be great, to go on as a doctor. There are doctors who have publicists that promote themselves. I know, for example, addiction specialists who are, some of them are doctors, some of them aren't, but they promote themselves as addiction specialists. Yeah. So when there's a tragic overdose of a star or celebrity, they're the person that they want the assignment editors to call and say, hey, will you come on our show? There's been a famous person who's overdosed. Can you talk about it? So in that sense, if you were a medical doctor who is advocating a plant-based diet, you could get a publicist or directly try to get a phone list of media and promote yourself as the doctor to call when there's an issue involving somebody's health. And I wouldn't necessarily promote yourself as a plant-based doctor. Just promote yourself as a doctor. Mm. And, so you can try to become an expert and weave the information in. Yeah. And that's what I do. Occasionally I'll do on a conservative channel, I'll pop up and I'll do a Skype hit. And as I always mention my veganism, even when it's a totally seemingly unrelated story, because the truth is that the whole world's going to hell because we're killing 60 to 70 billion animals every year. So if you want to talk about the healthcare crisis, it boils down to our overconsumption of meat and dairy. If you want to talk about all the violence we have in our world, I mean, to me, violence begets violence, and the violence that we inflict on animals is not something that doesn't factor into the equation. If you want to talk about climate change and the hurricanes, Hurricane Harvey, Hurricane Irma, Hurricane Maria, you're talking about animal agriculture as a leading cause of climate change. So there's a lot of ways to get the story in, but I would go out and say, I'm a vegan expert. I would say I'm an expert on climate change. I'm an expert on heart disease. I'm an expert on other things. Nice. And then you can weave the message in. That's what I would say. We have to be stealth about it.
No, that's fantastic. No, so I love what you said there. I'll just backtrack to what we said there. So I like the fact that you've said that, to get into the mainstream media, you kind of almost have to infiltrate and get a bit creative about how you're doing it. So like you said, if you're an addiction specialist, what have you, you don't lead with the fact that you're vegan, but you can kind of maybe slip it in. I like that. And then, talking a bit about now how you create your own media. So Jane, can you share, because you've gone from being a mainstream sort of broadcast journalist where you had camera people, filming you, whereas now you're doing the filming yourself, you're doing the video editing yourself. Can you share perhaps some of the equipment that you use and recommend for, say, vegan business owners who want to create their own video content?
I'm holding it in my hand. It's my phone.
Right.
It's all you need. In fact, traditional cameras, I'm sure the sales are plummeting because, especially now that we're going to go to the iPhone 8 and the iPhone X, they have cameras that people are shooting movies on.
Yeah.
In Hollywood, they're shooting sizzle reels on these. You don't need anything but a really good camera. You hold it sideways, horizontally, so it fills the screen, so it doesn't look like it's some video of, that somebody's shooting that we see on the news with the black bands on the side.
Oh, yeah.
So you get the best cell phone you can. I have an iPhone 7 Plus that I'm holding in my hand, and one of the things on my to-do list this week is to try to I'm going to go to Apple and see whether I want to get the X or the 8 Plus. But every time they come out with a camera, it's better. The still photos are right up there with professional photography now. There's portrait mode. You can put it on portrait mode and you go horizontal, you take a picture, and it has, the soft focus background. I mean, we use it on our website. I don't think there's any need to invest in any other camera equipment. I have 2 other cameras, high quality, professional grade, still with video capability cameras. I hardly ever use them because everything is on the cell phone. And if you wanted to get out to more people, do it live. Do a daily demonstration of your product live on Facebook, on Twitter. You can go Twitter live, on Instagram. These are incredible technology that we have today that allows us to do an end run around mainstream media. Just look at what's in the news right now. The Russian government used Facebook to influence our election. And they didn't apparently spend millions and millions of dollars on Facebook. They spent a doable amount. I think that, and please, I forgive me if I'm not up to date with the Russian news, which gets crazier every 5 seconds. But I heard something to the effect on one report that they spent $100,000. Now, if you take $100,000 and put it on Facebook, you can have a huge impact. So if your budget is $20,000, you can have a really big impact. And you have to build an audience. Everywhere I go, I tell people, use this. This is, in a totalitarian society, right? People wrote little booklets in the old days, right? Before the Russian Revolution, and they would hand out the booklets to people. And today the booklets are social media. That's how we're going to get the word out. So I just read another article in the New York Times that said that the Democratic and the Republican Party are pouring millions of dollars into creating memes because people aren't reading books anymore as much as they used to. And so people are getting their information in an ADD culture with very short photographs with, 5 words on them. So create memes around your product and get those memes out there and try to make your meme go viral. I mean, you have all these social media platforms. You have Facebook, which is generally doesn't skew toward the teenagers, but it's viewed by billions of people every day. You have YouTube, which definitely requires a certain kind of programming. You don't have the live videos, you'd have to shoot things, but you could shoot your product and create a YouTube page. You have Instagram, which is what the younger generation is using a lot, which is very easy. You can post photos, you can go live. The lives, I believe, don't last forever. They disappear after a while. But there's various things you can do on YouTube to get attention, and certainly photographs and memes are big on Instagram.
Sure.
You have Twitter, and you can hook all these up so that when you go on Facebook, when I post something on Facebook, it automatically goes to Twitter. I also have LinkedIn, and anybody can join LinkedIn, and you can friend as many people as you want. I friend everybody and I accept everybody's friend request because everybody eats food, and I want everybody to go vegan. So right now I'm up to about 7,500 people on Instagram, and I post every time I do a story. I post it on Instagram, and I get a lot of response from a professional crowd on Instagram. So what I would do is start whatever your product is. Let me do an actual real product. There was a great product that we ran into the other day. It's called Veggie Dome, and it's really good. And what it does is it puts your vegetables in a dome that you put on your counter, so that by seeing the vegetables all the time, the potatoes and the carrots, you want to pick them up and eat them as opposed to them going bad in the refrigerator. And so we did something with Veggie Dome, and he created a coupon code for Jane Unchained. So if people put in a coupon code, they can get a discount. And he's put together a bunch of YouTube videos. And I mean, he's working it. He's working social media with his product. And I'm not saying it's flying off the shelves, but we definitely saw that when we did our Facebook story with him, making food and then using the Veggie Dome to take the veggies out of the Veggie Dome to make the meal, that it showed people how to use it. He talked about it, how he invented it. It was a story. Now, is he going to be on Good Morning America? Probably not. But, you could take all the energy you'd put to try to get on a big TV show and put it into working morning till night on social media and maybe giving these products to the social media influencers. There's tons of vegan social media influencers. They're huge. In fact, let me give you an example. Getting back to those barristers, when they came here, they worked with a woman who runs a veg fest here in LA, and she does promotions for people. She helps them get media. And what they did was, when they opened, they invited all these social media influencers over, and I was one of them. And we all went over to the frozen fruit company on Montana Avenue, and everybody was taking pictures, and everybody was posting. And I went live on Facebook, and other people were doing Instagram, and so that was media. It's just new media.
Yeah.
It's not the old media, but it's new media. And frankly, it's rising. I mean, Facebook is extraordinarily influential. We can't, information is information. Images are images. And while we might want to have those images broadcast somewhere that might reach more people, but I say, throw the spaghetti on the wall and see what sticks. If you can get something done via social media, it might be better to well, you can do both. But what I'm trying to say is it's really important that we vegans use social media to the max, because
Sure.
it is our ticket around the mainstream media blackout.
Got it. Jane, I just wanted to go back on, you talked about using your phone. What about audio? Do you use a separate, because sometimes with audio quality, like if you're shooting someone on your camera phone, for example, and you're in a public place, the audio can sometimes be a bit tricky. Do you use any special additional microphones that you attach to your phone?
Well, that's a very interesting question. Now, what I try to do in most cases, especially when we do lunch break live, we don't use special microphones because people are moving around in the kitchen, and I haven't, excuse me, gotten a wireless mic that works with the live because we do everything live. If we're covering a speech, for example, I covered the Animal Rights Conference in Washington, D.C., and I did a lot of the speeches. We did set up a microphone, like a Rode mic with a long cord, into a mixer. And then from the mixer, we do the adapter to the lightning cord, because the iPhones with the good quality are like iPhone 7 has a lightning cord, a lightning plug. So you can't just plug any plug in there. So you have to get an adapter for that to go into the mixer. And there are inexpensive mixers you can get that are lightweight. And then from the mixer, it goes out to the cord that goes to the microphone. But I personally have found that that's too much of a rigmarole when you're covering things where people are moving. So after trying to come up with a system for when people are moving around, I just use the phone and I try to get close to them. Because the phones are good. The microphones are good. And I tell people to speak up. Before I do anything, I say, pretend I'm hard of hearing, speak up and look into the camera eye. But when we are covering speeches, we do set up the microphone.
Got it. And just finally on video editing, because we know that can be very time consuming. Are there any apps that you use, or do you do all your video editing on a laptop? Any tips around how to, I guess, kind of, make the process as efficient as possible without spending hours and hours on end video editing?
Yes. I do everything live whenever possible, so that I don't have to edit it. That's the whole point of going live for me is, one, if Facebook sends it out to more people, and two, I don't have to edit it. Now, there have been occasions where there are things that happen like 13 minutes in that are dramatic, and I'm like, okay, I'm going to take that, I'm going to download it to my desktop, I'm going to put it in iMovie, and I'm just going to get the parts that are really dramatic and repost it as an edited video. But I use iMovie. iMovie is, I'm not a technical person, and I can do iMovie. So cool. I think pretty much anybody can learn iMovie. Now, somebody snickered at me once and they said iMovie because they were an editor, and they kind of laughed in my face. And I'm thinking, you know what? A cut is a cut. And long before we had Premiere and all the other, highfalutin editing systems, we had people shooting brilliant classic films with just straight cuts because it was on film,
right?
And so with iMovie you can add a soundtrack underneath. Please make sure you use music that is free and clear. YouTube has a free movie free music category, and that's really important.
Yes,
because you don't want to get flagged. You're not going to be able to use Michael Jackson's music. You have to go and get free music, and get the free music that doesn't require credit, because there's two types of free music. One, free music on YouTube in the Creator Studio. It's called the Creator Studio. You go in there, and some are, you can just use it. You don't have to credit anybody. The others are, you can use it, but you have to provide a credit.
Right.
I don't want to provide a credit because it's very important. The fewer words you use on a post, the more people are likely to view the content. They've done studies. And yes, we often want to put War and Peace in there, but try to keep your words very short, and obviously provide a link to your site. Now, you can't put the link in when you go live. You can't put a website address. You have to go in and re-edit the post after and put the website address in.
Okay.
So just so you know,
right.
If you try to go live, don't put the website address in the description. Put it in after you finish going live, and save all your live videos to your camera roll, so that if you want to go and edit it afterwards, you can. So after you hit finish, there's a little box with an arrow that pops up. You hit that, then it says save to camera roll. Then you post, so that it's out there as Facebook, but it's also on your camera roll, so that you can then import it into your computer and edit it on iMovie.
Oh, nice. And do you shoot your Facebook Live with the phone horizontal again as well?
Always.
Always.
Never have it up.
Got
Always
it.
horizontal.
No, good advice. Awesome. That's fantastic. This has been really, really helpful, Jane. Some wonderful advice then. I know you mentioned that you cover products. If people send you products, you'll often cover them. But you also, vegan businesses or vegan brands can also sponsor your Jane Unchained channel because you've got a massive following from your days as a renowned broadcast journalist. So tell us a bit about that just to wrap up. How can a vegan brand go about sponsoring Jane Unchained and what are the benefits?
Well, we're increasing by about 15,000 followers every week on Facebook. And so right now with all of our social media, we're at about 750,000. We expect to be at 1 million very soon. And we have, really incredible community. We have the vegan community, but we also try to get the dog loving community because I always say dogs are the gateway drug to veganism.
That's a great little soundbite. You should meme that.
Yes. In fact, we're going to start doing a meme contest soon and try to get people to come up with some memes. So yeah, we're as long as you're vegan, we would love to have you as a sponsor. We have D-Dog right now as a sponsor, and that's the vegan dog food that my dogs eat.
Cool.
Yeah, and
what does that get? So Jane, so by being a sponsor, what's sort of included in that? Like, what's the sort of benefits? Like, do you just like mention them on social? How does it kind of work? The sponsorship?
Well, we're kind of open-ended because I think it really depends on the product.
Right.
And what we do is talk to people about what they want. And so they could, let's say, sponsor just Lunch Break Live. So we could create like a sign that we show at every Lunch Break Live. It said, this is sponsored by boom. And we could then go back after the live's done and add the website address so that if people wanted to go right to the product, they could. That's one thing we could do. We could obviously put it branded on our website and branded on our posts. That's primarily how we would spread the word. Put the logo here, there, and everywhere, and mention that they're the sponsor. And frankly, I think if I had a vegan product, I would definitely
you would sponsor yourself.
Yeah, I would hire myself because we reach all the vegans. All the vegans watch us. I mean, we go all around the country and the world, and everybody's like, "Oh, I love your videos." So, and I always tell them share. So go to facebook.com/Jane Velez-Mitchell. It's my verified page, and just share the videos. What our goal is. And even though we're not a nonprofit, because journalistic enterprises are for the most part not nonprofit, they're companies. But our goal is really to spread the word. And any funds that would come in, we would use them to increase our reach. So any funds that come in, they go to either equipment or to increase our reach with post boosts. So there are times when we just really want to. There's a video that touches people's hearts. The other day I was called by someone to come. A cow gave birth at a slaughterhouse near LA.
Oh.
And the slaughterhouse owner called and said, I don't want to kill the baby. And the person he called who was involved in the animal rights movement said, well, we want the mother too.
Oh.
And she called me and said, get down here. They're going to release the mother and the baby. And I went down there and it was really, really emotional because it was so beautiful to see this mother and baby get on the truck. But then I looked around and I saw all the other hundreds of cows looking at me, making eye contact with me, saying, what about me?
Yeah.
I swear to God, they might as well have been saying, what about me? And I just, it's gut wrenching, but that was a really powerful video. So I put $1,000 on it to boost it and target people like meat eaters, burger, right?
Nice.
Burger eater. Best recipe, food channel, cooking channel, so that now has been viewed at least, I think, 230,000 times.
Wow.
And hopefully it'll continue to go up. It went viral on its own, but I wanted people to see it because there was something about this mother and child. People can relate to a mother and child.
And what I've also found with people is that often they'll put stuff out on social media and then journalists see it and then they want to cover it in the media as well. So
Yes.
there's a double benefit
Yes.
there of doing the social and kind of how they work hand in hand. So that's awesome.
Yeah.
Look, Jane, you've been absolutely fantastic. It's always a pleasure speaking with you, and you've shared some really great tips and advice. So love what you do. We'll put a link, of course, to the JaneUnchained.com and also to your Facebook Live show. And it's been an absolute pleasure speaking with you. Thank you so much for coming on the show.
Well, let me say this, Katrina. I really love what you do. And I admire all the work you put into promoting vegan businesses. And obviously that's your passion, and I applaud it.
So that was Jane Velez-Mitchell from Jane Unchained. You can find out more at JaneUnchained.com. And that link is on the show notes page at veganbusinessmedia.com/podcasts and going to episode 92. Now for our vegan business news roundup. The UK meat substitute market is set to grow by 25% in the next 4 years, while the country's alternative milk market is predicted to grow by 43% in the same period, according to research by Informer's Agribusiness Intelligence, reports Food Bev Media. Increasing concerns around health, animal welfare and the environment are cited as the key reasons for the growth in these markets by 2021. Even greater growth is predicted in the US for meat alternatives, up 43%, Australia 46%, and China 46%. Informer's Agribusiness Intelligence Special Reports and Projects Director Alan Bullion said, as consumers in the UK and around the world begin making tentative steps away from milk and meat due to animal welfare, environmental or health concerns, we're expecting to see continuing strong growth in sales of alternative protein products. Excellent. That's what we like to hear. We're inching forward piece by piece. Vegan shoe brand NAE has debuted a boot made from airbags, reports Veg News. The company, which is based in Portugal, unveiled the new style recently as part of its winter collection. The hand-stitched boot is made from upcycled nylon sourced from car airbags, along with soles created from old tyres, and it also uses animal-free glue. The 10-year-old company joins other vegan brands using innovative materials, including pineapple leather and apple peels. Fantastic. It's great to see a return to repurposing items in a way that's good for people, animals, and planet. Finally, Americans are choosing more vegan and vegetarian options for their Thanksgiving meals, according to Nielsen, reports Food Navigator. Sales of vegan salad toppings were up a whopping 393% in the 3 weeks leading up to the holiday in 2016, closely followed by vegan pie filling sales, which were up 357%, and vegan breading and stuffing sales went up 179% compared to the average weekly dollar sales. The increased sales occurred due to the growth of the clean eating movement, which also resulted in increased purchases of healthy vegetables such as kale and organic sweet potatoes. Nielsen also said 39% of Americans are leaving animal-based proteins off their plates and choosing more plant-based alternatives. Again, fantastic news. I know sometimes it seems like we're making slow progress, but constant reports like this are a good sign that we're going in the right direction. So that's it for this episode of Vegan Business Talk. Thank you so much for tuning in. If you enjoyed the show, I'd really appreciate it if you gave it a review and rating on iTunes or any other platform you're listening on. Finally, I encourage you to head over to veganbusinessmedia.com, where you can find more resources, including details of my media and PR consultations, copywriting, editing and proofreading services to help you grow your vegan business. I'm Katrina Fox, author of Vegan Ventures, Start and Grow an Ethical Business, and I look forward to catching up with you in the next episode of Vegan Business Talk. Bye for now.